Mac School Prep TV. Today we are continuing to progress through our 4-part series on the art of note-taking, and what we're actually going to be talking about today is Chapter 3. By the end of this video, you will have hit the 3/4 benchmark, which is a super big accomplishment. But before we get there, I just want to let you know that if you're not aware, my name is Mackenzie Warren. I'm the founder of Mac School Prep, and what I'd like to do now is encourage you to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a beat. Okay, without further delay, it's time. Let's get it. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do in this video is to address your inquiry on how notes should be formatted. My best suggestion for you is that you just prioritize incorporating color and also having fun. Now, in your notes, you definitely don't have to go crazy with color, but I think that not just using black or blue for pages and pages on end is going to help make your notes a lot easier on your eyes. And trust me, when you go back at a later time to review your notes, it's going to be really hard to channel the motivation to read through what just looks like a big blob of words all in one color. So do yourself a favor and use a little bit of color. Now, I do say quite often that you're going to want to establish a system of organization that works for you. But just to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about and where I'm coming from, you could always do a system of note-taking that falls along the lines of something like this. Obviously, the first thing to do would be to start macros. So maybe surrounding headings and central themes with a red rectangle. And by headings, what I'm referencing to is that if we're reading a chapter in our science textbook all about the circulatory system, the words circulatory system are going to be the heading. That's the big picture. That's what we're going to want to distinguish with that red rectangle. Now, with central themes, on the other hand, I'm more so talking in relation to history classes. And typically, world history, AP Human Geography, US history, they are all tied to themes like social, political, economic, human environmental interaction, cultural. So for history classes specifically, dedicating sections of your notes to those central themes is going to be super helpful because it's going to serve as a constant reminder that as you read, you're going to want to be actively looking, actively searching for information that falls under one or more than one theme of the course. Moving along our pyramid of organization, I want to touch on subheadings. In your notes, you might want to indicate subheadings by underlining them in blue. Some examples of a couple of subheadings that would fall under that overarching heading of circulatory system would be maybe the heart's role in the circulatory system or the role of blood vessels in the circulatory system. The next thing is that you might consider bulleting conclusions and main ideas in orange. An example of a conclusion or main idea that would fall under the subheading the heart's role would be that a primary function of the heart is to pump blood throughout the body. Underneath main ideas, you might want to indent subpoints with yellow arrows. And so a couple of examples of subpoints would be that the blood carries oxygen and nutrients to every cell in our body, or that the heart usually beats from 60 to 100 times per minute. Something else that you might want to do to add a little bit of pop to your notes would be to put definitions in green along with highlighting keywords that emphasize important things. To give you an example, maybe we're working with the definition of a stroke. And so a stroke is a disease that affects the arteries leading to and within the brain. It occurs when a blood vessel that's carrying oxygen and nutrients to the brain is either blocked by a clot or burst. If I had that definition in my notes, what I would do is write the word stroke in green, and then I would highlight words like affects, arteries, brain, blood vessel, blocked, clot, burst. Those would be the words that I highlight that draw my attention to the main and most important parts of that definition. And a final thing that you're going to want to think about is maybe in the margins of your notes, putting clarifying questions that you want to discuss with your teacher or with a friend in purple text. However, if you really don't feel inclined to actually write out the full question in purple, you can always just put maybe a purple question mark next to whatever it is in your notes that is giving you trouble or that you're confused about. Now, I just want to throw it out there that the more unique and the more personalized you make your notes, the higher the likelihood that you're going to be able to recall them. In other words, when you're completely engaged during the note-taking process, the material is going to be more easily ingrained into both your mind and memory. Don't get me wrong here. I'm definitely not saying that you should spend 5 hours on notes for a class to make them super pretty and super beautiful, because like I keep saying, you're going to want to be efficient with your time. However, in all seriousness, in order to reap the most benefit from your notes, it's vital that you don't act as though you're just going through the motions. That means you need to take pride in your notes. You need to understand and acknowledge the benefits of the art, and you shouldn't act as though note-taking is a burden or as though it's something that you're just doing because you feel as though you have to. With that out of the way, you can probably remember that not too long ago, I was talking about possibly marking definitions in green as you fill out your notes. On the topic of definitions, my recommendation is that as you read or listen to a definition, you elect to write it down in your own words. It's no surprise that our teachers in our textbooks sometimes tend to be overly verbose or to use super fancy vocabulary whenever presenting a definition. However, if you focus on defining a term more succinctly and in a way that's easier for you to understand, you can trust me when I say that you're going to have better recall of the term because you're not trying super hard to remember wording that's not your own or that you simply cannot relate to. But how exactly do you go about defining terms more succinctly in your notes? The key is to get to the crux of the message that your teacher or your textbook is communicating. To help condition yourself to extract the heart of a message, what I want you to do is to pretend as though you are explaining the definition to a friend of yours that has zero prior knowledge of the material. In this situation, you're going to want to use language that's as simple and as easy to digest as possible. If you haven't caught on to what I'm saying yet, basically you're going to want your notes, especially term definitions, to resemble that super simplified explanation that you would give to an inexperienced friend. The next question you might have is, Mackenzie, how should I handle a situation in which my textbook or my teacher provides me with a bunch of examples to support this overarching topic? When this happens, what I suggest is that instead of you trying to write down every single example that's presented to you, including the obvious ones, you should only write down a paraphrased version of the examples that don't make sense to you right away or that you would have never thought of on your own. Something that relates to how you should handle both examples and definitions in your notes is that whenever the opportunity presents itself, you might consider sketching a quick picture, a drawing, or a graphic organizer that relates to the material that you're learning at the time. For example, instead of writing out in words what the circulatory system is responsible for, you might want to draw a stick figure of a human with arrows going around it to symbolize blood being transported around the body. Another example is that whenever you're comparing and contrasting concepts, you might want to draw a Venn diagram and use that to organize that particular portion of your notes. Obviously, including little drawings will allow your notes to have a more creative and unique edge to them. And also, this approach is going to prove super beneficial for visual and kinesthetic learners who prefer to respectively be seeing and doing as they absorb content. Okay, so I know that I gave you a lot of information in this video. Hopefully it wasn't too much of an overload, but because I want to give you time to absorb and process all of the content that I just provided you, we are going to take a pause in our series, but we will pick back up for Chapter 4, our final chapter in our 4-part series on the art of note-taking in the next video. But in the meantime, I just want to remind you to go ahead, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a beat. With that said, I look forward to seeing you in the next video so that we can officially wrap up our series on the art of note-taking. Bye!